Hi, everyone. Today we're going to explore the politics of MNCs or multinational corporations and how their operations impact the interests of home countries, host countries, and the corporations themselves. We also discuss the international regulatory environment surrounding MNCs. MNCs are large firms that operate in multiple countries, typically with a home base in one country and subsidiaries elsewhere. The dynamics surrounding these corporations involve different and sometimes competing interests. The key stakeholders are the MNCs, their home countries, and also the host countries where they operate. These competing interests are central to the understanding the politics of MNCs. Now, let's break down these competing interests. First, on the MNC interests are clear. They want to operate freely across the globe with minimal government restrictions. They seek to maximize profit and maintain controls over their global supply chains. A great example is Apple, which manufactures in several countries to reduce production costs while maintaining control over its intellectual property and product designs. Second is a host countries, on the other hand, are usually looking at the foreign direct investment or FDI from MNC to stimulate their own economy. They want to make sure that these corporations contribute to local employment, technological development, and also infrastructure. Take Samsung investment in India as an example. India attracts Samsung to build smartphone factories, but impose regulation to ensure that the company sources part locally and employs Indian workers. Third, home countries, the countries where MNCs are headquarters, focus securing their companies' overseas investments. They want to ensure that their firm can operate smoothly abroad without losing out foreign regulations. For instance, US government frequently lobbies on behalf of large corporations like Boeing, helping them win international contracts and access foreign market. Now, let's talk how home and host countries, particularly developing countries, often depend on FDI to grow their economies, while home countries, mostly developed nations, are both exporters and importers of capital. A great example of this dynamic is seen in Brazil, which has attracted MNCs like Nestle to serve its consumer markets. However, Brazil maintained restrictions to protect local industries such as agriculture. This helped Brazil balance foreign investment with domestic economic priorities. Developed nations like Germany find themselves on both sides of the equations. On one hand, they export companies like Volkswagen that invest in foreign markets, and on the other hand, they also host foreign firms like Tesla, which operate large production facilities in Germany. This dual role complicates their stance on international regulation, as they must balance the need to protect domestic industries with their desire to encourage global expansions of their own companies. On the restriction of MNC activities, almost every government imposes some restrictions on foreign firms. These restrictions are often designed to protect critical sectors like defense, energy, or telecommunications from foreign control. For instance, Indonesia, strict regulations on foreign firms in the mining sectors. Freeport, an American company that operates one of the largest gold and copper mines in the world, is required by Indonesia's law to divest a significant portion of its ownership to local entities. This ensures that Indonesia maintains control over its valuable natural resource. In developed countries, restrictions also common in strategic industries. France, for example, limit foreign ownership in sectors like defense and energy to ensure national security and sovereignty over critical infrastructure. In developing nations, restrictions often come in the form of performance requirements, such as requiring MNCs to source material locally or transfer technology to local firms. In Nigeria, for example, oil MNC like Shell are required to partner with local companies and ensure that some level of technology transfer takes place, which help the Nigerian government ensure that their natural resource benefit the local economy. Now, let's zoom out and look at the bigger picture, the international politics of MNC. At the heart of this issue is the tension between capital importing countries, which are often developing nations, and capital exporting countries, which are mostly developed nations. Capital importing countries want more control over the activity of MNCs within their borders, while capital exporting countries want to ensure that their firms have the freedom to operate globally. This fundamental disagreement has shaped the politics of international investment. A historical example of this tension can be seen in Latin America in the 20th centuries. Many Latin America countries implemented import substitution industrializations, policies restricting foreign investment to build up domestic industries. However, as these countries later liberalized their economy, MNC were allowed back, but only under stricter conditions. So what are the key issues in international regulation of MNCs? On the international stage, the politics of MNC often center on regulatory framework. The central question is, should international rules regulate host country ability to control MNC, or should they regulate MNC activities directly? Take India example. India has imposed strict regulation on MNCs like Amazon, Walmart, limiting their foreign ownership in retail venture and mandating there that a certain percentage of goods sold be sourced locally. This regulation protects India's domestic retail sectors, but create frictions with the MNC who want fewer restrictions. Meanwhile, the EU General Data Protection Regulations, or GDPR, has imposed strict privacy standards on MNC operating within the EU borders, even if they are based in other countries like US. This regulation forced MNC like Google's and Facebook to comply with EU rules on data protection, illustrating the challenge of navigating different regulatory environments. What are the challenge in developing comprehensive international rules? Efforts to create comprehensive international rules for MNC have faced significant challenges. One example is the Multilateral Agreement on Investment, an initiative led by the OECD in the 90s. This agreement sought to create a unified framework for international investment, but it ultimately collapsed in 1998. Developing countries were concerned that the MI would limit their ability to regulate foreign firms, while capital exporting countries pushed for more protections for their MNCs. In the absence of such multilateral agreements, many countries have resorted to bilateral investment treaties to manage MNC operation. These treaties set the rules for investment between two countries and protect the right of the investor. For instance, China has signed numerous bilateral investment treaties to protect its MNC operating abroad, while countries like Venezuela have withdrawn from such treaty to retain more control over their resource. In conclusions, the politics of MNC is a balancing act between national interests and global economic integrations. The ongoing conflict between home and host countries, combined with the absence of comprehensive international rules, ensure that MNC politics will remain complex and contested. Countries are likely to continue using regional agreements like USMCA and EU regulation, as well as bilateral treaties, to navigate these complexities. But the fundamental tensions between globalization and national sovereignty will continue to shape the politics of MNC well into the futures. Thank you for your attention. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to discuss them.